why hand battered is better with the $6 chicken basket. Our 100% white meat chicken is always just a batter dip away from becoming its own golden treasure. Batter up. Make our app your first mate and order ahead to skip the wait. Long John Silver's. Fish share.
Y'all make sure y'all get 3 for $5 because they ain't advertising it, honey.
Oh, we're advertising it. Get 3 pieces of our crispy, juicy signature chicken for just $5. How's that?
Let's go to Popeyes.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This is a national alert to all residents living in the American Pacific coastline, Guam, and Hawaii. A national alert signifies an unprecedented and existential threat to the United States, requiring immediate action for survival. The CX4-23 virus, originally detected in Rhode Island, has surged uncontrollably and breached fallen borders on the eastern seaboard, spreading westward through major airports, seaports, and contaminated cargo shipments. The virus has now fully penetrated the western United States, including California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, Alaska, and New Mexico, with catastrophic outbreaks reported in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Salt Lake City, Denver, and Anchorage. The situation has become dire as Hawaii and the American territory of Guam confirmed their first waves of infection, believed to have arrived through contaminated air and naval transport. Reports from Honolulu, Hilo, and Guam's naval base indicate growing clusters of infected individuals, forcing immediate military lockdowns. The fate of the White House remains unknown, and communication with President Joe Biden and key government officials has been lost. With Washington, D.C. presumed overrun, most of the eastern seaboard has fallen to the virus, including Chicago, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and Miami. Canada and Mexico are now on the brink of collapse, with their emergency services overwhelmed and borders failing to contain the spread. The CX4-23 virus is unlike any pathogen known to humanity, attacking the brain and inducing extreme aggression, homicidal rage, and cannibalistic tendencies. Infected individuals display high fever, nausea, vomiting blood, diarrhea, seizures, slurred speech, and violent behavior. Attempts to contain the infected have largely failed due to their high endurance and complete loss of rational thought. All citizens in the affected areas must evacuate to designated safe zones immediately. The U.S. military and National Guard have established emergency shelters in Fort Lewis in Washington, Camp Pendleton in California, Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado, and Joint Base Pearl Harbor-Hickam in Hawaii. If you are within city limits, move to the nearest designated evacuation zone or high-security shelter. Do not engage with infected individuals, they are extremely dangerous and unpredictable. Law enforcement and military forces are enforcing martial law, and all civilians are urged to follow orders without hesitation. As the nation faces its darkest hour, we remind all Americans, if our country falls, we may rise again from the ashes. Stay vigilant. Stay safe. More updates will follow as they become available. This message will now repeat.
Good morning start with GYG's Brekkie Burrito, a flour tortilla, free-range scrambled eggs, crispy bacon, jack cheese, pico de gallo, a crispy hash brown. They had a GYG barista-made coffee. GYG's Brekkie's the best thing on our menu. Love ya.
This is an emergency warning issued by the Department of Health. The current threat level is emergency, meaning an immediate and severe risk to public safety and national security. The highly infectious CX4-23 virus, originating from North America, has breached Australian borders and is rapidly spreading across Northern Territory, New South Wales, Canberra, Victoria, and Queensland. Initial reports confirmed that the virus entered through international flights, cargo shipments, and undocumented maritime arrivals, with early cases emerging in Darwin, Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, and Brisbane before escalating into full-scale outbreaks. Hospitals in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane have become overwhelmed, with widespread reports of staff infections, violent incidents among patients, and facility collapses due to uncontrollable outbreaks. Emergency services have lost contact with multiple medical centres in Newcastle, Gold Coast, Townsville, Wollongong, Geelong, and Cairns, where infected individuals have attacked healthcare workers and other patients, leading to the effective shutdown of these hospitals. The CX4-23 virus directly affects brain function, inducing extreme aggression and homicidal rage in its hosts. Confirmed symptoms include fever, nausea, vomiting blood, diarrhea, severe headaches, seizures, slurred speech, and violent cannibalistic behavior. Citizens in affected areas must evacuate immediately to designated safe zones and evacuation centres, which include RAF-based Darwin, Sydney Olympic Park, Melbourne Showgrounds, Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre, and emergency shelters in Alice Springs, Townsville, and Wollongong. If you are experiencing any symptoms or encounter an infected individual, do not approach them, seek higher ground or secure shelter immediately. All citizens are advised to remain indoors, barricade entry points, avoid all non-essential travel, and tune into emergency broadcasts for further updates. Military and emergency response units have been deployed to enforce quarantine measures, but due to the escalating violence and rapid transmission rate, containment efforts remain highly volatile. Martial law may be declared in the coming hours. Stay vigilant, prioritize your safety, and await further instructions from authorities. This is not a drill.
Excuse me, sorry.
There are loads of great reasons to travel New Zealand. When you're ready to take off, we'll zip you to epic spots across the country. If you just can't choose, pack them all.
Best weekend ever, so.
And if you're not ready to call it, a flight change is in your pocket.
You're good there, Roman.
Whether you're a first-time flyer or a regular, great trips begin with Air New Zealand.
This is an emergency message from New Zealand Civil Defence. This is not a drill. The CX4-23 virus, a highly infectious and violent pathogen originating from North America, has breached New Zealand's borders and is now spreading uncontrollably across the country. The virus, which has already devastated much of the United States, Canada, Australia, and several Pacific nations, has entered through international flights, cargo shipments, and maritime entry points. Despite initial containment efforts, the spread is accelerating, and authorities are struggling to maintain order. Outbreaks have been confirmed in Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, and Dunedin, with escalating reports in Hamilton, Tonga, Napier, New Plymouth, Nelson, and Queenstown. The virus was first detected at Auckland International Airport and the ports of Tonga and Lyttelton, where infected travelers and cargo handlers exhibited extreme aggression, attacking emergency responders. Hospitals across the country are overwhelmed, with several facilities in Auckland and Wellington losing communication after reports of violent incidents within emergency rooms. Law enforcement has confirmed multiple attacks inside Midlamore Hospital, Wellington Regional Hospital, and Christchurch Hospital, with staff and patients turning against one another in uncontrollable rages. The CX4-23 virus directly affects the brain, inducing extreme aggression, homicidal rage, and cannibalistic tendencies. Infected individuals exhibit erratic and violent behavior, attacking anyone in their vicinity. Confirmed symptoms include high fever, severe nausea, vomiting blood, uncontrollable seizures, slurred speech, and cannibalistic behavior. Anyone experiencing any of these symptoms must be immediately quarantined. Do not attempt to approach, restrain, or reason with infected individuals. They are extremely dangerous. A state of national emergency has been declared, and the New Zealand Defence Force is deploying personnel to enforce containment measures and establish quarantine zones and military-controlled evacuation centres. The following locations have been designated as evacuation and safe zones: Eden Park entrance of Base Wainuape in Auckland, Westpac Stadium and Trentham Military Camp in Wellington, Orange Theory Stadium and Burnham Military Camp in Christchurch, and Forsyth Bar Stadium in Dunedin. All citizens in affected areas must evacuate immediately. If you cannot leave, shelter in place, barricade all entry points, and ration essential supplies. Non-essential travel is strictly prohibited, and curfews are now in effect nationwide. Law enforcement and military personnel are authorized to use force if necessary to contain the outbreak. New Zealanders, stay vigilant and remain calm. This is an unprecedented national crisis, but our survival depends on our cooperation and immediate action. Further updates will be provided as they become available. This message will now repeat.